Hey guys, welcome to the new episode of Clout Insider. Today we are having a story about Let Sleeping Brands Lie. So what happened is in 1960s Nova magazine was Britain's style bible and had a massive impact on the fashion of the era. Alongside the fashion pages, it carried serious and often controversial articles on subjects such as feminism, homosexuality and racism. At the time, the magazine was unique, but by the 1970s, other magazines started to clone the Nova concept. Nova itself soon started to look tired and fell victim of sluggish sales and closed in 1975 after 10 years in operation, a lifetime in the magazine industry. However, such was the impact of magazine was its generation that IPC magazine decided to relaunch the title in 2000. Second time around, the magazine was positioned as a lifestyle magazine that was edgy and fashion conscious as the original. The first issue lived up to this promise. Here was a women's magazine completely devoid of articles such as 10 steps to improving your relationship, how to catch the perfect man, and celebrities and their star signs. According to The Guardian, the revamped Nova had more humor than the failed Frank magazine and more realistic fashion than vague while still being a clothes fantasy. 3 months later though, the publishers were already starting to worry that the sales figures were lower than they had anticipated. They therefore moved editor Deborah B and replaced her with Jeremy, who had previously been the editor of the independent newspaper Style magazine. Although some commentators questioned the decision of place a man at the helm of a magazine aimed at women, gender wasn't the real problem. After all, LA magazine had a male editor for years without disastrous consequences. Tim Bruce, the magazine director of IPC, declared that the first 3 issues of Nova had been too edgy, but the publishers had done little to calm wary consumers by shrink wrapping the magazine in plastic. After all, most people who purchase a new, unfamiliar magazine want to flick through it first, check that the content is relevant to them. The new editor was quick to make changes. The novelist India Knight was given own column and more mainstream features such as exercise page soon appeared. Although the magazine gathered a loyal readership, the number weren't enough. In May 2001, a year after its launch, IPC pulled the plug on Nova. It is with great reluctance that we have had to make this decision. Tim Brooks said at the time, Nova was groundbreaking in its style and delivery, but commercially has not reached its target. IPC has an aggressive launch strategy, and an important part of this strategy is that the strength to make decisive action and close unviable titles. IPC also said that it wanted to concentrate on bigger selling Marie Claire. For many, the failure of Nova's second attempt was not a surprise. It was exactly like the other magazines and failed to capture the British public's imagination. The fashion director at You magazine and the journalist on the Nova, they should have left old one alone, not tried to bring it back. Whereas the original Nova had a little competition when it launched, the update version has entered a saturated marketplace. 2000 had seen whole batch of new women's magazine enter the British market such as the Pocket Size and hugely successful Glamour magazine. Unlike Nova, Glamour had spent masses on making such the magazine was molded around the market. We traveled up and down the country and spoke to the thousands of young women to ensure not just like write editorial but the scale and the size of magazine. The Guardian reported on the highly competitive nature of the women's magazine market where new titles are launched. Commentating on Nova and other magazine closures, Nicholas Coleridge, managing director of Cone Nest Publications, said magazine closure are a fact of life for the industry. It is not surprise nor horrific when magazines open and close, he said. It's completely predictable and it's been the way for hundreds of years. Otherwise, we would have still been reading caveman magazines. According to this logic, the failure of Nova version 2 can be attributed to the natural order of magazine publishing. However, many have said that if Nova had been given more time to carve its niche, it would still be here today. One thing though seems certain, having already been given a second chance, it's unlikely to be allowed a third. But then again, so there's a lessons from Nova. First of all, recognize that brands have their time. Just because Nova worked in 1960s didn't mean the same formula would still be relevant in the 21st century. Secondly, account for brand failures. Magazine publishers take a pragmatic approach to failure. Indeed, most factor a couple of annual messes into their budgets. For more stories, please like Clout Insider.